if it's an area that you don't have to think into.
Right.
But I think there is, it is a genuine, regular thought process for me. It's one of the reasons, I mean, we've talked about this, that often I date younger men.
Mm-hmm. If younger men is choosing you, Tracy, I ain't gonna knock it. But is that really what you want? Is that really what's gonna make you happy? Or are those men that are less experienced within the world the only ones that will put up with your bullshit? We are going to have a fantastic conversation today, for I did not know that Michelle Obama now has a podcast. Now, I love these types of like women-focused podcasts because it gives us an opportunity to understand the dogma, to understand the perspectives, and to tease out the life lessons or the learnings, bring it up to you guys to have a conversation, one of which tells a story. Now, the reason that I found out that she has a podcast is because she was interviewing none other than this lovely young lady right here by the name of Tracee Ellis Ross. Now, Tracy is 51 years old, still single, no kids, and is talking through the cope of her decision making that has allowed her to become that in her 50s. And I think that this is a fascinating conversation, one of which should be studied for years to come, because this boss bee, independent, don't need no man, I get to pick whatever man that I want in a relationship, and I get to choose when I get married, all this other bullshit that they let off in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s with. Tell me now, how is that working out for you? But let's encroach on this conversation in good faith, because like I said, many lessons can be learned here. So without further ado,
no longer are we dating people?
No, but I am.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
I was like, Tracy's, my girl.
Yeah.
I mean, the tales from the road.
And I bring stories home. I bring back to Michelle
stories. I'm like, what's happened in the last several months?
And it's always eventful.
It's always good.
Well, the thing is, I stay open. Mm-hmm. I'm probably more
way open.
Yes. Oh my God, that sounded so wrong.
I didn't mean that. Mom.
My heart.
Your family.
My heart stays open.
Your heart
more open than it should. Yes. Yeah, that was hard.
All right.
More open than it should be. But I do date, and it's a fascinating adventure out there. Mostly though, I think there's really good men out there. I think to a certain extent, I'm a very unique sort of unicorn of a woman.
There we go.
And so it's going to take a unique person. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, I have really learned how to live my life and enjoy it and not sit around waiting. I was saying to someone recently that I'm one of the first generations of choice, and it's not anymore, which really, there was a window and that has shifted. Mm. And I do think that that's going to change dating for women so much.
When you mean you've been the sort of the product of choice.
Yeah, like the assumption of Roe v. Wade and the ability for a woman to find her own delight and pleasure and choice around how she navigates dating or how one would navigate dating. And we're in a different world now. And I'm curious what that will look like. It frightens me for younger girls because of many reasons, obviously. But even with the systemic protection of Roe v. Wade, I still was coming up against the cultural norms of being a choiceful woman.
Now, first off, let me applaud Tracee Ellis Ross, because generally when I see this conversation, it comes from a place of saying not that there are mostly good men out there, but that there's mostly trash men out there. So from that, she doesn't seem particularly jaded, which actually makes me want to pay attention to her words even more. And then when I begin to pay attention, I just don't even understand. Did she say the delight or the pleasure of choice and then liken or accompany that to Roe v. Wade? Excuse me, ma'am, it's a delight to have the choice to delete life within your body. The first thing I thought about is the video of the woman in front of the Planned Parenthood dancing before she gets to the deleting.
Baby. What the baby? What the baby? The baby. The baby. Give you the Bacardi. I'm ready to say the mother. Ready to beat the mother. Baby. You sound like a nigga.
I'm gonna leave that video down in the description box down below for you guys to be able to look at my full thoughts. But outside of that point, on the back of feminism, yes, the first full generation that has had the opportunity of choice. Shit, back in the mid-70s, women couldn't even open up their own bank accounts. But what we have discovered is that when you have infinite options, and if you don't incentivize better choices, people will choose the infinite options without a formal understanding of the best options for them. Let's proceed.
And owning my own body and my own choices and what it is that I'm looking for in a relationship, and the ability to negotiate in a relationship what it is you want the relationship to be between the two of you, as opposed to what society says it should be.
Well,
that's different.
I don't know that we're gonna lose that. I think women, we're used to having a say in our lives.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether the whole movement is about sort of reharnessing us,
Sure.
whether is it really about,
and can that really work?
Reproductive rights? Can that really work now that women are educated and we're being raised differently? I mean, the truth is that fathers are modernized.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
mostly
they are, and if you were to ask the average man, how are you raising your daughter? Because you love her. The average father that loves their daughter wants them to be excellent, and they want them to have opportunity and freedom. Mean, when you think about you don't want your daughter saddle marrying some guy that chose her because he just didn't think about anything else and was
who believes
ready
that her body
time.
is.
Which is interesting because the amount of female 304 rappers that were invited into the White House during the Obama administration, and that they tried to help recruit the Black community in the Biden administration, and the attempt within the Harris campaign, none of those damn women I would like to have as a representative of my daughter if I was to have any. So yes, Michelle Obama, you want them to have the full choice, but you also want to provide structure so that they don't choose that. That is commonly displayed on mainstream media and is often used as a marketing tactic to get them to either purchase product or vote in a specific way. Any self-respecting father would absolutely want their daughter to have freedom of choice, but freedom needs to come with structure and discipline that puts their well-being first. But many of these modern women today will influence younger girls to just live free and enjoy your roaring 20s within your prime years, which often involves partying, dating around, hopping from pogo stick to pogo stick, and avoiding anything that might look like conditioning themselves well enough to position themselves well in the dating marketplace today to inevitably settle down with a man. By the time that they're ready to start a family, they're older, heavier, and they have added or increased risks to giving birth. Meanwhile, I think it's a lot more powerful if you prioritize long-term planning or family building, because it's easy to advertise that sexual liberation or hookup culture is liberating or strength. Meanwhile, real strength should rely on prioritizing long-term planning or family building.
Think about you don't want your daughter saddle marrying some guy that chose her because he just didn't think about anything else and was
who believes
ready
that her
time.
body is his choice.
Exactly. So I don't think a lot of leaders are thinking about that. You know?
Well, and they haven't been asked to, because I think it's not always a context that if it's an area that you don't have to think into,
right?
But I think there is it is a genuine regular thought process for me. It's one of the reasons, I mean, we've talked about this, that often I date younger men.
I, like many of us, was taught to grow up dreaming of my wedding, not of my life. And I spent many years dreaming of my wedding
to the choir.
and also waiting to be chosen. Well, here's the thing. I'm the chooser. And I can choose to get married if I want to, but in the meantime, I am choicefully single, happily, gloriously single.
And a lot of it is because...
Let's stop on that, folks.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we had a
Several
great dinner.
We
had a great dinner, by the way, where across the table, your husband goes, "But why?" And I said, well, maybe because
Good question.
I can.
Yes. Preach.
Yeah. There's not like power within that. Now, I will also say anecdotally that Michelle Obama is at least 10 years older than Tracee Ellis Ross. To me, they look about the same damn age. Now, Tracee Ellis Ross at 51 years old, would be a younger man. I'm almost 40 in a couple of weeks. Tracee Ellis Ross to me looks like a goddamn grandma. If younger men is choosing you, Tracee, I ain't gonna knock it. But is that really what you want? Is that really what's going to make you happy? Or are those men that are less experienced within the world the only ones that will put up with your bullshit?
This is what I'm saying. Tales from Tracy's.
It's fun. It's really fun to share.
Tracy tale.
But
I'm sorry.
But one of the reasons, though, that because I had to ask myself that question, I was like, what is this about?
Yeah.
Because I want a partner. And so often, and it's not just that I'm
not a
older,
partner.
I'm also very embodied. I am a full, very whole person who knows myself.
I'm a unique
who's
butterfly.
in charge of my life and who lives a very full, just robust life. So it's not just age, it's like life experience and sort of a difference. But I had to ask myself the question, why? Why does this keep sort of coming up other than they're hot and gorgeous?
There's that.
But a lot of men my age are steeped in a toxic masculinity.
There we go.
And have been raised in a culture where there is a particular way that a relationship looks. And anything that starts to smell of that for me, I did enough of it where I was controlled and felt like I was a possession or whatever those things were, or prize.
All of the tropes.
And I have no interest in it, and I will not do it again.
I'm sorry.
No,
Craig.
I was going to say, so it's a generational thing? So it didn't matter how you met them, or is it just kind of the guys you're meeting?
That's obviously
too big of a generalization.
It's a generalization, but because I have dated men my age, there is a difference. There is an openness that occurs with a younger man around whether it's gender fluidity or not even having an issue with homosexuality. I mean, something as basic as that there's times where I'll be sitting across the table from somebody and just like, what did you just say?
Yeah, what century are you?
Like, oh my God.
Where's your horse and buggy?
Yeah, like, I'm so sorry.
And your bedpan.
Yeah, for real.
Chamber pot.
Yeah, your chamber pot. Your chamber pot. Like, where I'm just like, yeah, this is not a match.
You hear that, gents? Talks like this is why masculinity has been at an all-time low, because they have been in charge of shit for decades now. And if you don't accept their bullshit, if you don't accept that everybody is equal, let's all hold hands and kumbaya, there's not a hierarchy, there's not results that you're trying to get out of something, well then, boom, you're not for me. You must accept it. If you don't accept it, then you must be a part of toxic masculinity. These are the women that would want to rewrite masculinity. These are the ones that are okay with biologically born men competing in women's sports. They identify with gender fluidity. Shit, these are the new eras of modern women that are okay with accepting a currently presenting heterosexual man, even if they knew that he had a homosexual past. They disrespect tradition, and instead of considering that out of the billions of options out there, literal billions of options, that she is so unique that she could not be form fit under a man's protection and provisioning, and now she has to dip down into younger men that make her feel alive. Women like this reward men for saying, forgetting hierarchy, accept everybody, equity or equality, whatever the new age term that they're using, thereby breeding a much more feminine, woman-like man. Never in the history of manhood ever has there ever been an acceptance of everyone ever, irrespective of their contributions or their results. So these modern women within these dating situations are now more so responding to these weaker, feminized version of men. And then you have a culture of single mothers raising these same men with the same type of tropes. That's how we're getting the feminized men. But thank God for decentralized media that is speaking to men in a different type of way, giving them places to demonstrate their masculinity, because within mainstream, they've worked and they stopped at nothing to castigate it.
And I have long been past the age where I feel like it's my job to teach somebody or grow them up. That I'm not interested in. So, but
you're dating younger men.
It's interesting. I mean, there's so many different philosophies on dating, and I have come up with mine. I have come up with what works for me and what makes sense for me and what feels safe for me. I mean, like, I'm not on dating apps. I have friends that have great success with dating apps, but that's just not something I'm comfortable with.
So you're meeting folks in the wild then?
That's the only way for me. Or someone sets me up, or I meet them at an event. I meet someone. It's usually people that also have a level of recognition that they have as much to lose as me to a certain extent. I don't know. I mean, I haven't had great luck lately, but I do have to say I'm moving up on what it is that I'm looking for as a match. I've had some doozies. Yeah.
But it's just, I just love watching your life because you were modeling so many things, the next phase, how many versions of ourselves we can become at all ages in life, and how to build the life you want.
Yes.
Not the life that somebody told you were supposed to have. And let me tell you, I told you this about the girls.
It's this and faux control.
Tracy, just like, she mentors the girls. She's always there for them. But trying to make sure that I am not subconsciously sending them these messages about what their life should look like. Even like when you ask, are you dating anyone? I mean, that's something that we ask young people in their 20s. You know, the whole thing about weddings,
we talk a lot about that.
Yeah, it's just like the pre-proposal and the bachelorette and the pre-honeymoon and then the 3 wedding dresses and have you thought about
the amount of money,
your 32 list items of who you want to marry, or are you more busy picking out your photographer?
Yeah, it's interesting, that whole, I hope that is starting to dissipate culturally.
So.
I really do.
Getting married for the wedding as opposed to the marriage. We talk about that all the damn time.
I think social media is perpetuating some of those things in a really big way. But I did dream of my wedding growing up.
Here we go.
And that's not to say that I didn't dream of the bigness of my life, but I could have spent a lot more time dreaming of my life. And as much as grief does surface for me around not having children and not having a partner, I still wouldn't want the wrong partner.
That's a great point for people to hear.
I'm not interested in that. You have to make my life better. It can't just be, I'm in a relationship to be in a relationship. So even though the grief does emerge and that comes and I hold that, I think of what I've done. And I woke up every morning trying to do my best. I didn't wake up one morning and be like, I'm going to mess this day up.
That's right.
So I must be where I'm supposed to be. And I don't know. Sometimes I think of all of the things I've done, the courage that I've had to have and what I've had to learn how to navigate as a single person with no one to hide behind.
At first, at surface level, it sounds all good. I don't want to end up with the wrong person either. But let me tell you something, Miss Tracee Ellis Ross. High standards and expectations, unrealistic standards and expectations, plus low patience and modern woman tolerance will leave you single forever. I feel for you now that you're grieving the stage of life that you are currently in because you don't have an ability to have natural kids for yourself. But it's humbling to see this person after 15 years ago, you sat up on Oprah Winfrey's couch and had that behavior. To transition from that video to what we see on this couch grieving, people need to understand, and especially young women need to understand the totality or the timeline of this situation. Now, a valuable source of data for the majority of these conversations can be found right up in the comment section. And I'm saying that because you get a general sense of what people are saying about this conversation and also what is being left out. I love when women know their worth. Okay, yeah. If you price your worth at a Lamborghini, but in reality, you're an Infinity, you may be worthing yourself into singleness. I don't disagree with this, but how many of them overestimate their worth up until geriatric pregnancy? Perhaps if they release their worth, if it's being tied into their status, their power, how much money that they make, or how many times they've sat on Oprah's couches, perhaps they have a realistic understanding of what their actual worth is. This one says the wrong partner is so much more worse than no partner at all. First off, you guys know how much I hate that partner word. It's been co-opted by the LGBTQ. But again, on the surface level, I agree with this statement, but how many of the wrong partner is sitting into their DMs is a good man, high morals, high virtues, maybe he's a short king, and they overlook that significant other for the guy that was never a good choice to make in the first place. Females have a man, she good with words, but it's lonely as fuck. Crazy, she said all of this and not one negative thing spoken about men, and I agree with that. That's real peace, honesty, and self-love. We love you, Tracy. And we women, is that a woman? That look like a guy to me. I am now confused. We women love you, Tracy, and understand completely. And this comment, I think, is one of the most important that is written down up in there by a young lady. Grieving a life that you desire to have is a real thing. That's going to leave this content here today. Guys, drop me a line down below. What is it that you think about the content before you? And let me know, on the backs of feminism, they've created this life to be desired. Do you think a lot of women are now taking a look at the media that's placed out in front of them that tells them to be the boss, be modern woman, don't need no man, I'm gonna pick and choose who I want to marry, or if I want to be single in a relationship? Now that they're beginning to understand that men choose relationships while women choose sex, after they see all of these older women come back later and talk about the lives that they wish that they led. Let me know down in the comment box down below. I want to hear both from the MT Army and the MTRers as well. And if I get enough comments, I'm going to bring this up on live stream and we will have a conversation about it. Last but not least, men's self-development community. Link to it down in the description box down below. Beam up, and I will see you guys soon. Until next time, YouTube. Peace. You is ratchet as they come, rainbow weaves and batwing lashes, weighing more than a man. What time is your football practice? I bet you can hit that A-gift like a mug. How you big back it? Said a man must buy you gifts. Where here goes a Fitbit tracker. Are you mad? Cause you got 3 kids by 4 different dads. You pick cookies, then you bash. Oh man, when you get sad.